Hey everyone, welcome to the Wrestling Experience.
Where we recommend aloe vera for treating severe face burns instead of wearing a lucha mask.
Yeah, I can't imagine putting a mask on a burnt face. Feels nice.
No, I mean, the skin's got to be all sensitive and swollen.
Well, we did get to see Lucha Randy Orton, but first, I'm Jazz,
And I'm Johnny.
and we are here to recap Monday Night Raw. And yeah, so we get a very lengthy promo from Randy Orton sitting in a dark, dark room, wearing a mask, looking like he's going to rob a bank, looking like he's starting his lucha career, whatever you want to say. But I actually enjoyed the promo, as campy and cheesy as it was. I thought it was pretty good.
It certainly was. So Randy Orton's lost all of his compassion after showing some to Alexa Bliss a few weeks ago. He's lost it all. All he sees is fire. He can't sleep. He actually wears the mask not to treat the burns, in fact, to shield everyone from the horror he endured. So, I mean, that's something. At least he's not using it to treat his burns. He says he's lucky because he only got first degree burns, and he could have been far worse. Could have been completely disfigured. And he goes on to say that he doesn't actually blame Alexa for this. He actually blames the Fiend. Says that Alexa was merely the vehicle for this. He says that the Fiend wants to stop him from winning the title, and we see like clips of him winning the Rumble in 2009 and 2017. I think was it? Yeah, it was 2017. And essentially, he wants to do it again, and he thinks that the rest of the locker room is happy because of what happened to him, because for the simple reason that he may not make the Rumble and he won't be able to compete. But he said nothing will stop him from entering the Rumble, not even if you cut off all his limbs. He also mentions how he really is enjoying the pain, and he ends with basically saying that everyone can thank the Fiend for this because he's going to burn all of their Royal Rumble dreams to ashes in 2 weeks at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, so strikes the match, blows it out, and then we fade to black. So I did enjoy I did like the fact that he also talked about how he enjoyed the pain and everything like that, and how the first time he showed compassion, and this is what he got, right? So again, different, so I'll take it. And basically we have Lacey Evans, I believe. She's backstage walking with Ric Flair and Charlie Caruso. Basically wants to know about their relationship, right? This is TMZ, of course, after all. And
that's what Lacey says, yeah.
Exactly. And Lacey just kind of cuts her off, calls her nasty. And she basically says that, listen, I'm just learning from the dirtiest player of the game, and he lives up to that name. And tonight
She also said she was looking forward to seeing Charlotte versus her tag team partner Peyton, and now I'm getting very confused because I thought they were not tag team partners. I'm not sure.
It seems like they are, reluctantly, but they are. And this is what we have. We have Charlotte Flair versus Peyton Royce. Charlotte comes out, and she makes halfway to the ring, and then Peyton Royce kind of attacks her out of nowhere. And they actually got a decent amount of action in this, but I kind of honestly could have predicted what happened, and it's exactly that happened. Ric Flair's theme song hits, and essentially... And this was pretty funny, though. Seeing Lacey Evans wearing Ric Flair's robe, for whatever reason, that really insulted Charlotte. And really took her eye away from the action.
Oh, yeah. Charlotte was in pretty solid control for the first half of the match and only got distracted by Ric Flair's music. And even when Peyton took advantage, it kind of wasn't enough, because in the second half of the match, although Peyton has some nice offense early on, Charlotte is still pretty dominant to the point where she takes Peyton out of the ring and then taunts Lacey while this is going on. And Charlotte keeps going and attacking Peyton's knee because she's setting up for the figure eight. And then it just feels very anticlimactic the way the match ends. Peyton tries to fight out with a cool kick, some interesting offense. But then it's almost like she's like, oh, back to the knee, locks in the figure eight, wins the match, continues to hold the submission. And then she's just kind of, and I'm like, that was weird. I just felt like the ending was just super abrupt.
Now, here's the thing, though. What I thought that was odd about the ending is, first of all, is Charlotte a face or is she a heel? Because the way that she was kind of holding on to that figure eight and not letting go, even after the ref called for the bell and everything like that, that was a pretty heelish thing. And I don't know, man. Is this her slow turn to just kind of turning heel and then losing those tag team titles? Because later on, I guess we can talk about it very quickly. Shayna Baszler and Nia kind of hinted at, wanting a rematch at those tag titles. So is this it? Like, is this, Charlotte just coming in, they're putting a title on her, and then, she's probably going to win the Royal Rumble? Like, what's going to happen?
Classic Charlotte. I mean,
God.
She does kind of cut a babyface promo later in the episode. So we'll get back to that when the time comes. But the Hurt Business is backstage. They're not bullying anyone. Matt Riddle's actually there, and he kind of like teases, like MVP kind of makes fun of what Matt Riddle's wearing, and Riddle's like, "I'll take the high road," and he kind of compliments them on their suits, but he does kind of make fun of them a bit.
Come on, dude! You forgot the best part though, because basically what he says, "Oh, I'm going to take the high road," and then Sheldon's like, "Of course you would."
That's a good point. Yes, he would take the high road. He never wouldn't take the high road, really. Lashley says he's going to take care of it, and he says he actually tells him like he digs the flip flops. He's a fan of them, but they're like not good. They're kind of bad for your feet. And Riddle's like somewhat confused, and Lashley stomps on Riddle's exposed toes. The exposed toes are down, and then Riddle like is angry. He's on the floor, and he's like, "This foot will go up your ass tonight." And the camera cuts, and we're back from commercial, and Riddle is with the Lucha Bros and saying, because they have a big 6-man tag match tonight, and he's basically saying how he'll be able to tape up his foot and he'll make sure he's ready for the match.
Yeah.
Now we have Retribution's latest punching bag, Xavier Woods. But before we have that, we see Ali cut a pre-recorded promo, and he's talking about Kofi Kingston, right?
Yeah, so I actually love the fact that we had a throwback moment here where he kind of talked about Kofi Mania and how Kofi Mania kind of stemmed from Mustafa Ali's injury. Like, if it wasn't for Mustafa Ali getting injured, getting removed from the Elimination Chamber match, Kofi Mania would not be a thing. And And he basically wants Kofi to experience what Ali went through back in 2019. Man, it's already been 2 years. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, crazy. Like I thought it was a pretty good promo, man.
I'm gonna be honest. At first, I'm like, why is he just randomly targeting Kofi Kingston? And then it took a moment for things to put 2 and 2 together. And I'm like, oh, it makes so much sense. And then he starts saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna make you understand what it's like to sit at home watching someone take what's yours, which is one of the things he said. And I'm like, wow, that was pretty solid. I'm okay. I'm down now. Consider me interested. Now we have this match with Xavier Woods against Mace. Before the match, Ali is kind of like getting in his face and like trash talking, and Woods kind of like gives him a cheap shot. And then we go to commercial, and then we have the actual match, which is nothing spectacular, right? Ali is trash talking while Mace is tossing Woods around. Woods tries to fight out. It's not really successful. He does get a few shots on the back of the neck and sends Mace on the outside. And this is when Retribution are checking on him and like getting him all fired up to get back into the ring. And that's when Woods hits a baseball slide on Ali while he was doing that. This just angers Ali. And Mace kind of just comes in, does a really cool looking kick and an interesting like slam and picks up the win. And then Retribution kind of addressed Kofi Kingston saying, get well soon.
I can't wait, man. So we're definitely getting Mustafa Ali versus Kofi Kingston. I think that's going to be great.
We should get Ali Mania for this Royal Rumble season, you know?
So next up, though, this was just the weirdest. Like, I didn't understand the point of it, but basically, Sarah Schreiber is backstage with Asuka, and she wants to know what she can expect from Alexa Bliss, and she's like, I don't know. And then we see a video recap of Alexa, and then once the recap is over, she just says Alexa's dark side, and that was not a sentence because legit all it was I don't know, Alexa's dark side. Like,
yeah, this was very weird, bizarre, and it kind of gets worse for Asuka, which is very disappointing as the show goes on.
Yeah.
But we move on to this WrestleMania report by Triple H and Stephanie, disguised as news anchors. I forget what their names were.
I believe.
And they want to talk about.
One of them was Henry E. Pankey or something like that. I think that was Triple H.
He was Hank, I think.
Okay,
maybe it was
Hanky Panky. Yeah, something like that. It doesn't matter what their name was, but essentially it was like a fun way of announcing WrestleMania, and it was crazy because they announced the next 3 WrestleManias. I believe one of them is in Tampa Bay, the other one is in Hollywood, and the other one is in Dallas or something like that. But
so the rundown is they cut to weather, which Sonny McLeod, but there's no Sonny McLeod. It's Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. Roman's like, there's no Sonny. Mm-hmm. He's sitting in his rightful place, and he tells Paul to explain what's going on. And Paul says WrestleMania will be at Raymond James Stadium this year this year for 2021. And then we go to breaking news in sports with Haley Berry, who's Sasha Banks, and you can see Triple H kind of say, Right on, boss, as she gets interrupted mid-announcement by someone who actually says the announcement and spoils it, which is that WrestleMania 2022 is going to be in Texas at the AT&T Stadium. There's an awkward sexual thing between Triple H and Stephanie's characters before they move on to Hugh Can't See Me, who's going to talk about something great. And you can't see him. There's no one there. But then John Cena, man, this is like, I was pretty happy to see John Cena here. He's on camera as Hugh Can't See Me, and he's talking about how he loves LA, but not really. It's so manufactured. But then he's reminded that they're live. And so he's like, oh, I love LA, and WrestleMania 2023 is going Hollywood at the SoFi Stadium, or the SoFi Stadium.
Yeah.
As they said. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was.
But,
So let's just move on to Raw. We're going to go to Alexa's Playground.
Remember that?
Yeah, so basically she comes out, she's all, happy and giggly and all that kind of stuff, and she talked about how last week she came to see Randy Orton, and she just wanted to clear the air, but things got a little heated. So if you
Address
need...
the Viper in the room, too. Don't forget that.
Yeah, and if he needs any suggestions on good sunblock, he should let her know. And she talks about her special guest, Asuka, who comes out, and this is just weird. Because Asuka is just afraid of Alexa Bliss. Like, she wants to sit on the other set, on the other swing set, but Alexa kind of stops her and she's like, "This is not for her." And then Alexa Bliss starts talking to her imaginary friend, it seems. And Alexa,
she's like, "Are you okay?" And Asuka's like, "Yeah," but Alexa's like, "I wasn't talking to you." And then they're kind of giggling, and Alexa wants to have some fun, so she announces that she's going to enter the Royal Rumble. And Asuka is actually rooting for her. She says, "Good luck." And if they win, they will face each other. And Asuka would be honored because she's a big fan. She says, "Yowie wowie." And Alexa talks to this invisible person again and doesn't seem happy about it. Asuka calls for her music and does some weird dancing. And this upsets Alexa. And now Asuka's kind of startled and really scared. It's weird. And then Alexa kind of just talks about how she's sad because he's not here. And even though Asuka reassures her and says that the Fiend is still here, Alexa gets even more upset by saying, "Don't say his name." And then the little horse rocking seat starts to rock by itself, and this freaks out Asuka even more, who just kind of runs off. And then Alexa's all happy, and she goes to sit on it and continues to rock with the horse. And I was like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, interesting. So let's just move on backstage with Miz and Morrison and Sarah Schreiber. Sarah wants to know what we can expect from Goldberg, who's going to be on Miz TV later on. Can't wait for that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They just kind of mock her because she wants to scoop, and that's about it. They just kind of walk off, and
they quote Eric Bischoff because they're like, they promise it will be controversial, and then Morrison's like, "Controversy creates cash," like the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and now we have Jeff Jarrett all of a sudden. It's a pre-recorded message, and he talks about how he predicts Bill Goldberg to come in, spear, jackknife, I believe, with the jackhammer and win. Little does he know that that Goldberg is not able to pick up anyone with the jackhammer anymore.
I know.
Instead, he spikes their necks. But hey, it's okay.
I can't believe he thinks Goldberg's gonna win. That gives me even less hope for like I'm terrified. Like Royal Rumble is not. I'm not looking forward to it anymore.
Yeah. So now we have Mandy Rose versus Shayna Baszler. Mandy is accompanied by her sexy muscle friend Dana Brooke, and Shayna is with Nia Jax. I thought it was a pretty decent match, right?
Don't forget about the promo from Shayna at the beginning, saying backstage before she came out for the match, saying that she would enter the Royal Rumble and she'll eliminate anyone. She doesn't care if it's Bayley or Charlotte or even her own partner. Nia doesn't like it, And she says like her back is hurting from carrying the team. And then Shayna's like, okay, she runs off because she has a match, and they like come out together. But you can see that they're kind of like there's a bit of friction here. And Byron Saxton on commentary with Nia doesn't mind asking her a bunch of questions. She's very annoyed by that. But yeah, moving on to the match, you were gonna say?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent match. I feel like Mandy Rose has some decent chemistry with Shayna Baszler, but. Unsurprisingly though, Shayna Baszler does put on the Kirifuda clutch to pick up the victory from Mandy Rose. Yeah,
Shayna worked the arm for most of the match. Dana tried to give her a pep talk, and then Mandy got fired up, did a nice kip up, hit a few great offensive moves, but eventually the arm was the deciding factor. And then post-match, right, there was more arguing with Shayna and Nia, and then Dana takes advantage by drop kicking Nia into Shayna, and they kind of hit each other, and then the sexy muscle friends run off. Mm-hmm. And we got more friction between the former tag champs, Shania. And In fact, post-commercial, we get back and they're arguing backstage, and Charlie asks, what's going on? Why are they not getting along? And Nia pretty much says they never really got along, which is kind of true. And they also point out that the tag champs are probably not getting along because you got Charlotte, who's too focused with Lacey, and you got Asuka, who's afraid of Alexa Bliss. And then Shayna's like, it might be the perfect time to get the rematch they never got, and then they run off.
Yeah,
and now we have...
Yeah, and speaking of Charlotte, this is where she's interviewed by Sarah. So a lot of backstage segments in a row. And she's basically asked about Lacey Evans and Ric Flair and all that kind of stuff. And she talks about, living off the family name. And that's basically what she's always been known for. And, she also talks about, listen, like, she can be just like her dad. She can also be the dirtiest player in the game. And she kind of basically puts Lacey Evans on notice.
Yeah, she said she chose not to go down that path, which, I mean, that's why I said it was a babyface promo. But maybe she needs to rethink, she says. And she said it finally ends with Lacey can wear the robe but never wear the crown.
Mm-hmm.
And for the next backstage segment, we have Adam Pearce, like...
This was
the stage with Ricochet.
This was bad.
It was bad and funny at the same time, right? So...
Like, I don't know, man. Like, these old...
AJ Styles has never failed in making me laugh with his recent, like, comments. He's so funny.
AJ was probably the best part of this
at his own
segment.
Expense, too.
But Ricochet just needs to wrestle. Like, just don't let him talk. Or
I agree.
Give him a manager or something like that.
Or make him say stuff that's not stupid. So basically, Adam Pearce tells him that he set him up with a match with AJ, and like Ricochet is grateful for this opportunity to prove himself because if he could defeat AJ, he might be considered for the Royal Rumble. But AJ shows up and asks why Ricochet would take advice from a guy who ran away from his title match with Roman Reigns on SmackDown, and AJ says you should have just went for the match. You would have lost, but you would have kept your dignity. Like Ricochet, who's going to lose tonight, but still keep his dignity. And then Ricochet, like, it says that AJ has selective amnesia, like in that movie 50 First Dates, which that's where I'm like, okay, why are you bringing up a movie from 2001 or whatever? And AJ saves it because he's like, yeah, of course I know the movie. It's in my top 10 with The Notebook.
But hold on though. I've seen that movie. She does not have selective memory. She has short-term memory. It's ridiculous.
That's also true.
So like this whole promo was to not. It was null and void because you were wrong about your point.
Yeah, that's true. She just forgot the last year of her life. It was a great movie though. Yes, AJ is not wrong for putting it in his top 10. But anyway, all this to say, Ricochet ends with probably his best line, which is basically like, if you're going to do a lot more than a 7-foot monster to stop me from proving that I belong in the Royal Rumble. And Adam Pearce looks kind of impressed as Ricochet goes off to make his entrance. But then we cut back to AJ saying, like, I don't think I like you. And if I don't like you, that means that Omos doesn't like you either. Or Omos, sorry. And Omos goes up in his face and like gives him a stare down before they make their entrance.
And again, great match. But can we just talk about that end? Because that... rope-assisted Styles Clash was just incredible. I mean, sure, if you want to describe the match, go for it. But like, that finish was so good, and this is what Ricochet should be doing more. Like, he should be selling moves like that, and he should be talking less. And AJ just kind of makes everything look great. Yeah,
I mean, everything about the match was pretty good. They had some very nice exchange with pins early on, early Styles Clash attempts, like each one thwarting each other's moves with Ricochet with his fancy things. An interesting spot was when Ricochet went for a dive on the outside. AJ dodged it, but he basically landed into Omos's arms, and then the ref was like, put him down, and he just kind of like drops him, which was kind of funny. But yeah, in the second half of the match, there was a lot of cool actions with Ricochet trying to get advantage. He did a cool like backflip into a German suplex bridge with the pin. AJ hit his brainbuster, which was also really great, and he kept working the back. He did a couple of backbreakers. But yeah, the ending is where everything was pretty awesome. Ricochet tries to do like a springboard attack. AJ kind of catches him into a suplex and like picks him up and drops him onto the third rope, and then he flips over right into a Styles Clash, and it was just bounced right into it. It was at least watch that clip. It was super cool.
Yeah, for sure. So now we're going to go to the dirt sheet, and
oh boy.
Yeah, so the Miz is in the ring, and he calls it the biggest episode of the dirt sheet in history. He calls out his next guest, who's intimidating and all that kind of stuff, a legendary superstar, and it's Gilbert, actually. And hey, it's great to see Gilbert, right, with the little firecrackers or whatever you want to call it, and the little like fire extinguisher. I thought that was pretty funny. It's it's always been funny.
Yo, I'm a Gilbert mark, like.
Oh, for sure.
Every time, it never gets old. And Morrison says he looks massive and he's been training. And and then Gilbert is amazing. He's like, how does he prepare for a match? He'll bash his head into the wall because he's so pumped. And like he says a bunch of things. He gets all fired up. Smoke comes out of his nose, fire out of his ass. It was super hilarious. And then Drew McIntyre's music hits. And it's some other guy, right? Like who doesn't have nearly as good of a physique as Drew McIntyre, of course.
Putting it lightly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to insult him. And then Drew McIntyre, imposter, says he's here to meet his opponent face to face. And then Morrison's kind of like, but like your accent's a bit off. And then Morrison tries to do his Scottish accent. And then the paid actor, we find out, he's like, do you want to redo it? And Miz is upset because like we're live, we can't redo it. And then he's also upset that Morrison like found the actor from New Jersey, and Miz was like, you have to go to New York or something to find like a good actor here. And then while they're arguing, Gilbert interrupts to do like a weird yell, and then they both tell him to shut up. And they end this by saying Goldberg is going to lose and Drew is going to lose. And how will that happen, you ask? How can two people lose in a match? Because Miz is going to cash in. So he's the Miz and he's next.
Yeah, exactly. So now I guess we can just go to our 6-man tag team match. We have the Hurt Business versus Lucha House Party and Riddle. Again, the whole story of the match was the Hurt Business kind of just slowly imploding, right? Like we know where this is going, right? Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin not kind of getting on the same page. Cedric just kind of being like this little firecracker, but he's just kind of going a bit overboard at this point. The match itself was pretty decent. Yeah, exactly. But the match itself was really, really decent as well. And at the end of the day, it's Shelton. It's not Shelton, but Bobby Lashley that kind of comes in and he just kind of destroys everyone and just wins the match.
Yeah, it's a lot of like arguing between Shelton and Cedric, tagging each other in when they don't want to be tagged in. Poor Lindsay was like just there taking a beating for what felt like forever. It really felt like a long sequence of tag in, tag out, getting upset with each other. Shelton even pushes Cedric before the commercial in between that divided the match. Riddle barely got in. Like Riddle did not do anything until he got one hot tag, had a nice sequence, but then he hits a floating bro on Shelton, who dodges, and then Grand Metalik is in, gets beat down, and then, like you said, Lashley decides he's fed up and he just takes everyone out.
Yeah, and for Riddle, I was gonna say that he probably did more after the match than
true.
I guess in the match, because after the match, I guess their business, they're still like recuperating and they're still kind of like fighting and all that kind of stuff, and Riddle gets one quick attack on the Hurt Business before he's able to flee, and so again we'll have Riddle versus Lashley, and maybe this time around Riddle's gonna win, because so far Riddle hasn't won a single match, I think, or maybe he won one match via roll up or something like that. I forgot.
Yeah, they're 1-1. Remember?
Yeah,
and this might be the deciding one. We get a backstage segment with Elias and Riker, and they're talking about their miscommunication from last week because although Riker is sorry, Elias was like, he didn't really mean don't help me, but Riker took it literally. He says this isn't the Thomas the Tank Engine, this is the WWE, which stands for Walk with Elias, which I'm like, okay, sure. Interesting way to change the subject. Weird references to media, 51st Dates, then Thomas the Tank Engine. Anyway, it stands for Walk with Elias, which Riker did not do last week, but Riker will walk with Elias this week. He will prove that Elias embodies the universal truth, and he will beat Jeff Hardy until he accepts the universal truth. And then they're kind of like unsure of themselves again because he asks, so you're going to help me for this match or not? And then Elias just like, let's go to the ring. And we move on to that match. But before we can have that match, right, there's a update from Drew McIntyre, who has no symptoms. He's feeling stronger than ever, right?
Good news.
He said he had a good laugh about the Miz TV thing. He compares WWE to a circus, saying that they have clowns and they have lions, and sometimes the lions eat the clowns, which is interesting. He talks about Goldberg, saying that he respects Goldberg, but that doesn't outweigh what he's willing to do to keep the title. He also reminds us that he has a good track record with title defenses. He's pretty dominant. He also talks about all the things that Goldberg has said, whether some of them not being true at all. He's not even sure if Goldberg believes them. And then he says that when Goldberg did push him, he saw a glimpse of the real Goldberg, and he urges him to bring that version of Goldberg to the Royal Rumble, because if he doesn't, Drew will eat him alive in like 2 minutes. And Drew is coming back next week to Monday Night Raw.
Exciting stuff. And
good stuff.
We do have Jeff Hardy versus Jackson Riker, which is a match I've never seen before on Monday Night Raw. So
never. Never, not once.
This is definitely exciting.
Historic.
But again, it's Jeff Hardy wins, but via disqualification because I guess Elias.
This was not a match, right?
Yeah.
Like, nothing happened. Like Riker's aggressive early on. Jeff fights out with his classic moveset. Riker does like a nice clothesline, but then Jeff fights out with a jawbreaker, does his twist of fate neck breaker. So like he's confused. I think he's doing it on purpose to troll people. It's not the twist of fate, but it looks like it. And then when he wants to hit the swanton, Elias just knocks him down for the DQ, and then they kind of argue, Riker and Elias being like, I would have got him. I would have kicked out of that. Elias was like, I don't think you would have. And while this is going on, Jeff like does like a baseball slide on Elias, takes him out. And then Riker takes out Jeff. And then they kind of continue to like discuss what happened, basically. So, yeah, nothing very exciting. But now we have our main event. We see Alexa Bliss walking backstage. She's all happy because we're going to have Alexa Bliss versus Asuka in quite possibly the strangest main event match ever, right? Like,
yeah,
weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
I mean, there's two parts of this match, right? You have the first part of the match where it's normal Alexa Bliss versus Asuka, and it is quite competitive, right, between them. I feel like they had equal amount of offense, right? There was I don't think anyone was better than the other or something like that. I feel like both of them had momentum, and when Alexa Bliss was in control, when they were kind of battling it outside, Alexa Bliss kind of slides back into the ring, and then the arena starts to darken, and then the music was different. It was like a creepy carnival-like, circus-like music that was playing, and I'm like, okay. They go back from there. They go back from break, and Alexa Bliss is completely different. She has black lipstick on right now. She is wearing different clothes too. Like she's wearing darker clothes now because before she was wearing pink.
And her hair is messier. Like those are the things I noticed.
And the lights are also like there's some sort of like red bluish hue that's kind of going on, and this is where Alexa Bliss, I guess, has transformed, and now she's no-selling everything.
Not even. She's dodging strikes like Neo from the Matrix. Like she's like blocking blows, avoiding strikes. It's really impressive. Like Asuka looks like she's like not sure what to do. Asuka does like have some decent offense, but then she tosses Alexa in the corner, right? And then Alexa does the thing the Fiend does where she like hangs upside down. This startles Asuka again. She wants to lock in the mandible claw. Asuka tries to fight it out, so she's unable to lock it in. Asuka does get a few more strikes in, but then like Alexa's just like, here, let me put you in the Sister Abigail, and hits the Sister Abigail, and then she wins.
Because
I was like, oh shit.
You have Asuka who's hitting like a spin kick, a spinning fist, like the back elbow and all that kind of stuff, and Alexa Bliss is just kind of no-selling it, and she just catches her exactly in a Sister Abigail. So I guess now there's like the birth of another character that no-sells everything, just like the Fiend. Camera kind of zooms into her. Her hair's again all messy, like her lipstick is all messy as well, and then we kind of hear "Let me in," and the show comes to an end like that. So
don't forget that the lights flicker back, and she's completely normal, like she was at the start of the match. Black lipstick's gone. The hair is less messy. The clothes are different.
Listen, it's at the end of the day, I feel like the way that we describe wrestling, it's like it's very soap opera-y. Like it's very like it's pretty much a soap opera, and like it was different, it was weird, it was interesting. It wasn't entirely bad. I personally just thought that like in terms of like matches, I don't think that we really had that many solid matches except for AJ Styles versus Ricochet. But besides that, honestly, like I feel like wrestling wise it wasn't the best. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't solid.
No, I agree. I
did enjoy Randy Orton's promo. And I think Asuka's character work was completely messed in this in this episode. Like Asuka being afraid of Alexa Bliss is weird, considering what we've seen from her like back in NXT and her pre-WWE days. I just think that's weird. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just I'm kind of on the fence. Like it's like I didn't hate it, but I didn't enjoy it either, man. It's middle of the road.
No, but I agree. From a match perspective, AJ Ricochet was like by far the best. Like we had Woods and Mace. Like, did you even remember that was a match? That was like 2 seconds. I remember the Hurt Business was a match because it took forever for them to argue about who's tagging in what. The Alexa Bliss Asuka match was fine, and I enjoy what they're doing with Alexa Bliss. I just feel like it was wrong to put Asuka in that position. and it doesn't make sense for her to like. I like that she reacted very like her reactions to the weird stuff that was happening were very good, but like also out of character. Like I feel like Asuka would have not is like a warrior, you know, like she doesn't care.
I'm telling you right now, they're going to do Alexa Bliss versus Asuka at Royal Rumble. Alexa Bliss is going to win that title. And Charlotte is going to win the Royal Rumble. And Charlotte is going to be the one to defeat Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania.
I had that thought. And
it's
I
horrible.
Hope that will stay in fan fiction and never be whatever twisted person would come up with that fan fiction. Because I don't want to see that. But yeah, that's something. I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, man, Asuka should just lose the title to Charlotte so Charlotte could be the one being afraid of Alexa Bliss. I would much prefer seeing that. And speaking of Charlotte, like I don't think the match with Peyton Royce was particularly spectacular. Even Shayna Baszler versus Mandy Rose wasn't like the matches were pretty whatever, except for the couple ones that were good. Mm-hmm. The backstage segments were pretty solid. Randy Orton was great. Drew McIntyre was great. Miss TV was fine, right?
Sure.
It wasn't that bad. The playground was a bit weird. I'll admit, yeah.
Lots of, like I said, lots of interesting, but not always in a good way. Interesting doesn't have to be good all the time. It's just, I just didn't have any answer. I just thought it was pretty weird. So, for me, Raw, unfortunately, was middle of the road. And, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I'm starting to agree with you that they think SmackDown is the A show because they even give us a nice recap of what happened on SmackDown every week on Raw. So
absolutely.
You might be right there, but yeah, Raw was pretty uneventful, mediocre, okay, borderline, decent kind of episode, like a 6 or a 7 if we have to give numbers here.
Sure, I'll give it a 5.
Which we do.
So, yeah, a 5. So that's it. That was our recap for Monday Night Raw. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. And we'll see you guys for the A Show SmackDown on Friday.
Man, you know, it'd be great if Ricochet gets like a movie nerd gimmick and then like always like has a promo and references some movie, but he gets it wrong. Like he's like, you ever see that movie? But like he's talking about it, but it's wrong. And like and then someone questions his credibility as a movie geek because everything he references is wrong.
It's like, remember The Matrix, right? Like when he took it was between the orange pill and the green pill, and everyone was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then he took the orange one the green one. He wanted to go back to reality because he didn't care, and then the movie was like only 30 minutes.